You got a quote for your deck back in March, sat on it for a couple months while you thought it over, and now the same contractor is telling you the same deck costs $4,000 more. Nothing changed. Same boards, same footings, same guy. The only thing that moved was the price of wood. And if you're planning any project this year that involves framing, decking, fencing, or an addition, that's about to happen to a whole lot of people. So before we get into it, do me a favor and hit subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of thing that costs homeowners real money when nobody warns them. I'm Jerry Davis, and I've been building and renovating houses long enough to have lived through 3 of these lumber roller coasters now. The 2021 madness, the correction after, and now this round, which is being driven by something different. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how to protect your project budget, what to ask your contractor before you sign anything, and honestly, which projects you should just design differently so the lumber market can't hurt you as much. First, let's talk about what's actually going on, because it matters for how you plan. Right now, Canadian lumber coming into the US is carrying combined duties and tariffs of roughly 35%. Canada supplies about a quarter of the softwood this country uses, and most of that is the spruce pine fir your walls are framed with. On top of that, mills on both sides of the border are shutting down capacity because they can't make money at these numbers. So you've got less supply, a built-in cost floor from the tariffs, and almost every forecast pointing to higher prices heading into next year. The Builders Association figures this has already added around 10 grand to the cost of a new house. Now, you're not building a whole house, but your addition, your deck, your garage, same math, smaller scale. So here's the first place people mess up, and I see it every single time prices start climbing. They panic buy. They watch one video, run to the lumberyard, and load up on framing lumber for a project that doesn't start for 4 months. Then they stack it in the garage, or worse, out in the yard under a tarp. Look, I get it. Locking in today's price feels smart, but dimensional lumber is not a stable product. Those 2x4s are going to twist, bow, and crown while they sit there, and when your framer shows up in October, he's going to pull a third of that pile and toss it in the coal stack. You saved 15% on the price and lost 30% of the material. If you're going to pre-buy anything, pre-buy the stuff that stores well. Sheet goods laid flat in a dry space. Engineered lumber, composite decking. Hardware, let the framing lumber show up a week before it gets nailed. Because wood that goes into a wall quickly stays straighter than wood that sits in your garage having opinions. The second mistake is in the paperwork, and this one's bigger than the first. When a contractor hands you a quote right now, you need to know one thing. How is lumber being handled in that number? Some contractors are quoting fixed prices and quietly padding the lumber line by 20% to cover themselves. Some are writing in escalation clauses that say if material costs go up, you eat the difference, with no cap. And some are just leaving it vague, which is the worst of all. Here's what no one tells you. Most lumber yards will hold a quoted package price for a window, usually somewhere between 7 and 30 days. So the question you ask your contractor is simple. When are you locking the framing package? And can we get the supplier quote in writing? If there's an escalation clause, fine, that's actually fair to both of you in a market like this. But put a cap on it. 10%, 15%, whatever you negotiate. Uncapped escalation in a rising market is you signing a blank check. A good contractor will not be offended by this conversation. The ones who get squirmy about it are telling you something. Third thing, timing. Everybody wants to build in May. The weather's nice, the kids are almost out of school, and every homeowner in your zip code calls a contractor the same week. Demand spikes, yards run promotions dry, and prices firm up right when you're buying. Meanwhile, framing crews work all winter in most of the country, and lumber demand traditionally softens in late fall. If your project is flexible, and I know not every project is, getting your materials priced and your framing done in the off-season can quietly save you more than any coupon ever will. This is where people mess up by treating renovation like vacation planning. The best time to buy lumber is almost never the time everyone else is buying lumber. Now, let's talk about the part most homeowners forget, which is that you can design your way out of a lot of this. The lumber market can only hurt you in proportion to how many board feet you're buying. Take decks. A 400 square foot rectangle with a simple joist layout uses dramatically less material than the same square footage chopped into angles, wraparounds, and multiple levels. Every 45-degree corner is waste, blocking, and extra framing. Same with additions. A simple gable roof over a rectangular footprint is cheap to frame. That complicated roofline with 3 dormers you saw on Pinterest, that's a lumber bonfire. And here's a pro tip while we're at it. Ask your contractor about advanced framing on additions. Studs at 24 inches on center instead of 16, where the engineering allows it. Headers sized to the actual load instead of doubled up everywhere by habit. Done right, it can trim real material out of a frame and leaves more room for insulation. Not every framer loves it, because habit is free and change isn't, but it's a legitimate conversation to have. And while we're on alternatives, 2 things worth pricing out right now. Steel studs for basement partition walls. They're straight, they don't feed mold, and their pricing hasn't been riding the same roller coaster. For non-load-bearing basement walls, they're honestly better than wood anyway. And yes, I know some of you are going to disagree. The other one is composite decking. For years, the knock on composite was the price gap against pressure treated. Well, when treated lumber climbs and composite holds steadier, that gap shrinks, and composite doesn't need staining every 2 years. Run both numbers over 10 years, not just at the register. Now here's the one that drives me nuts, because people do it with the best intentions. When prices climb, homeowners start bargain hunting on grade. They see the cull cart, they see the bottom shelf economy studs, and they think they've beaten the system. You haven't. A wall framed with twisted, wet, junk lumber gives you wavy drywall, nail pops, doors that won't stay closed, and tile cracks in 2 years. Then you pay a finisher to fix what the framing did. The place to save money in a lumber spike is quantity and timing, not quality. Buy fewer board feet through smarter design, buy them at the right moment, lock the price, but buy decent wood. Structure is the one place in your whole house where cheap is expensive. One more thing, because this comes up in every kitchen table conversation I have. If your budget is tight, phase the project instead of shrinking the quality. Do the structure and the shell now while you can still lock a package price, and push the cosmetic stuff, the built-ins, the trim upgrades, the fancy garage storage, to next year. Paint prices aren't riding tariffs. Framing lumber is. Spend your locked-in dollars on the stuff that's actually exposed to this market, and let the rest wait. And this is the detail that makes all the difference. None of this requires you to predict the market. I don't know exactly where prices land next spring, and neither does anyone on the internet, no matter how confident their thumbnail looks. What you can control is a written supplier quote, a capped escalation clause, a start date that isn't peak season, a design that doesn't waste wood, and a refusal to frame your house out of the bargain bin. Do those 5 things, and it genuinely doesn't matter that much whether lumber goes up 15% or comes back down. You've taken the weird out of it. Tell me in the comments which project you've got on deck this year, no pun intended, and whether your contractor has actually talked to you about material pricing. Because I guarantee half of you have a quote sitting in your inbox right now with a lumber number that's already stale. A smart renovation in a market like this isn't about timing the bottom. It's about locking what you can lock, simplifying what you can simplify, and never letting a commodity chart decide the quality of your framing. Hit like, subscribe, share this with someone who's about to sign a quote, and I'll catch you in the next one.